Welcome to The Pulse, where we delve deep into the issues and ideas that are shaping the future of education. I'm your host, Rick Cerncy, Superintendent of the Putnam County School District, and each week we'll be talking to teachers, administrators, and other experts in the field about the latest trends, best practices, and most pressing concerns in education. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who cares about education, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the pulse. I want to welcome you back to our weekly podcast, and I'm very honored today for the second time to have Sandy Gilyard here, who's also our school board chairman, and we'll talk to him about that later, but also a retired educator and really one of my role models throughout my educational career. You know, Sandy and I were administrators together, and she helped guide me in those early years. So I can't appreciate her enough because of what she's done for me and many of our children and adults here in Putnam County. But we're here today to talk about February being Black History Month. And I know that Sandy wants to talk about her sorority and some of the events happening to support our students and also our celebration of Black history. So, Sandy, welcome back. Good to see you, as always. And let's just start off talking about your sorority. Tell us a little bit about your sorority and some of the work they're doing.
Okay. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're viewing this. As always, I'm happy to be anywhere to share not only my faith, my sorority, and our school district. My sorority is Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. We were founded on January the 16th, 1920 at Howard University, and I'm sure Tara Hill has already brought that out. But we were founded by what we call our brothers, a Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, which wanted a sisterhood to work closely with them. And so I'm proud to be a member of an organization that is not about self, but is about service.
I wonder in 1916, I think that's the date you gave me, 1916?
January 16th,
right.
1920.
1920, thank you.
The roaring 20s. Yes,
and, you know, it was like the year before that, and I'm an old history teacher, where women
got the right to vote. Yes, sir.
So I'm wondering at that time, how significant was it to have a woman's sorority at Howard University? I mean, did many women go to school at that time at Howard?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Howard University. And for the record, because more than just Zetas will be watching this podcast, but there were two other sororities that came into existence prior to Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. One of them is Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, and Linda Oliver, a former educator, is a member of that one, and many others, D.R.C. Miller, the late Joyce McLeod, that were actually teachers in the Putnam County school system. Now, that's enough about AKA. Then the next one is Delta Sigma Theta, and we have quite a few educators today in our school system that are members of that sorority, Pamela Brown being one, Kim Wright, and many others. Mm-hmm. But the unique thing about all the sororities that are named, and there is another one, Sigma Gamma Rho. I will not slight them, but their presence is small here in Putnam County. I'm proud to say that of the ones that are named, we, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, is the one that is based here, founded here, has a chapter here in Putnam County. All the others are in Palm Coast or other places.
How long has the chapter been here in Putnam County? Do you recall?
Do you remember Evelyn Green?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was one of the founding members. Catherine Gibson, an educator. I'm not sure if Miss Alzie Bostic was one of the founding members, and I'm sure Cynthia Asia will correct me on this if I get it wrong, but her mother was one of the founding members. And the housing authority that's named Ragsdale, Rosa K. Ragsdale was one of the founding members. Many great women that we stand on the shoulders of.
Evelyn Green is an icon. I mean, I can't say enough about her and her family.
She was a part.
Yep. So for if any young folks who might be going to college or who might be in college, Can you kind of give us an idea when you hear the word sorority? You know, I know a lot of things might come to mind, but really, what is the sole purpose of a sorority, and what might be a reason that maybe a young lady might want to join a sorority?
Okay.
I know young men might join a fraternity, and young women would join a sorority
Yes, sir.
if they chose to. What might be some things they would do in that?
Okay. I'm going to reflect now on my time at Florida A&M when I first got there. You find and you establish friendships.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives young ladies and young men an opportunity that some may be their first time away from home. It gives them an opportunity to bond with other young men and young ladies with like minds, with ideas of being of service. They may not be the athlete that got the scholarship to go to college, but they can belong to something that can keep them focused and grounded on doing things that are positive.
So is it also kind of like a service organization?
Yes, sir, most definitely.
Right.
That's one of our principles. We're founded on service, scholarship, sisterhood, and final womanhood.
And I
Those
know
are the things
at a
we
recent board
represent.
meeting, you have members of your sorority in the audience. I remember everyone was dressed
Yes,
similar.
sir. Yes, sir.
So,
Social action.
Right.
That's one of the committees in the sorority. Social action, being cognizant of things that are going on in your community that you can be a part of, because that's what we do. We support our community and we find out where we can be of service. And so
that's so
it.
important. And I talk every time we get in these podcasts, somebody from our community is enriching our community. And I always say Palatka in Putnam County, we have a lot of things said about us,
Yes.
good and bad, but one thing about us that is true, we are a giving community.
Amen.
We take care of our own, and we would not be where we are today without so many organizations such as yours who
Yes.
gives back. So
Yes.
I commend you for doing that. So I know one big thing y'all are planning on. Can you elaborate on the gala
Yes,
that
sir.
you're going to have and what that's all about?
Okay. The gala will be the last Saturday in the month of February, where we are making an effort to bring in funds so that we could support scholarship. We do what we call Z-Hope, Zeta's helping other people excel. That's what the acronym is. And we go out to our we used to call them nursing homes, but they're care facilities, and we donate toiletry, things that help the ladies and the men there feel good about themselves. There's a day where the older women that are in these facilities pamper themselves with nail polish. We take in crossword puzzles, things that would help them to stay connected with life,
Yeah.
with society.
And we just don't understand what that means to those folks.
Yes.
And I commend you on doing that.
Yes. Oh, and let me interject.
Sure.
Speaking of the gala, it is $75. And at this gala, we are recognizing unsung heroes, 5 men in our community. I am not on that committee. Think Sharice and Kim Hardy are the leaders of that particular committee. And they recognize 5 pearls. A pearl represents the 5 founding women of our sorority. And we look for women that have done something in their community beyond self, that serve, that people recognize as a giver as opposed to a taker, a part of the solution as opposed to the problem. And they will be recognized at this event as pearls and unsung heroes, the men. So 5 and 5.
That's great. And tell us again where that would be located.
It will be located at the Ravines here in Putnam County.
$75.
Yes, sir.
And that money will go towards scholarships and some of the overhead.
Yes,
So,
sir. And with the scholarships, I want to say this, that we recognize a student from each of our high schools here in Putnam County, $500 scholarship, and it is our goal that in the future we will be able to give more than that. But what we've determined as a sorority is that we will not send this money to the university or the college of their choice. We actually put that check in their hand because there are things that they need prior to going. They may need to buy a luggage set. They may need to get some personal items. So we actually give them the check once they've shown us an acceptance letter that they are truly going away to college.
You know, that's so important because so many of these scholarships, and I try to go every year to our scholarship night. So many of these scholarships are for tuition and that type of thing.
Yes, sir.
But to have that extra money for those things that kind of that overhead, if you will, that it takes to go to college.
Yes, sir.
Luggage and
Yes,
clothing and all that. So that's great. And, you know, the other thing I would encourage our young people who might be watching this, especially our graduates, soon to be graduates, just pour yourself into applying for as many scholarships as you can.
Definitely.
And the biggest hindrance is just maybe writing a short essay or something that kind of discourages a lot of them. But just that little bit, you might be the only person that applies.
Yes, sir.
So I encourage you to do that, not only for this opportunity, but for others.
If I may, I want
Sure.
to say something else in regards to service. During the Martin Luther King Day celebration, our sorority met at the Women's Resource Center. And as Dr. King has said, been quoted as saying, it is not a day off, it's a day on. And so our day on was to present Pampers, little clothing items, wipes, and things that these women are in need of. And so we try to find a need and fulfill it. The Lee Conley House, we're very present there in providing things for those women that are displaced for a moment. And so it's one of those things. We've been blessed and fortunate, and so we want to give back.
Well, I appreciate that. And in the Women's Resource Center, our church, you know, supports that. And,
Yes.
you know, it just goes without saying that these are women at their most neediest time.
Yes, most definitely.
Where they really need the community to reach out and help them. And so without that, you know, these people would not have the opportunity to live a normal life. So I'll commend you for that. If I can change gears for just a minute, I want to talk a little bit about Black History Month.
Okay.
And February is Black History Month. Interviewed some other folks earlier about the Black History celebration we're going to have at CeeLo. Really bring some children in and just let them learn a lot about Black history and how that is so much enriching our history here in Palatka and Putnam County. But just generally speaking, what does Black history mean to you? And you know, especially with your organization, but really here in Putnam County, talk to us about Black history and what are some things that are being done and things that you think we might want to look to do in the future.
One of the things that stands out is 2-3 years ago, I think you started it, and you had the panel at CeeLo, and we had an opportunity to share what Black history meant to us. And so it is a time that you celebrate. It's a time when you get to share things that are not necessarily covered in the textbooks. Cynthia Asia did a presentation at the Democratic Women's meeting on last Thursday evening, and her topic was so well stated. It was Black history is American history. And that thing resonated in my mind. It is. It took all of us here to make America great. And so what we do, we want to share with our Black students especially, so that they don't feel as if a contribution has been made by Blacks, that all we want from them is to do their very best in school and not be ashamed of who they are, and don't believe that sports is the only way out, to work hard in that classroom and to give it their very best and just do the right thing. That's, prior to integration, schools were segregated. And I can honestly remember going to Central Academy High School and the things that we did there and the way we celebrated. And it was a good time and a good feeling because we didn't see any difference because we looked around and we saw everybody that looked just like us. Mm-hmm. But when they integrated the schools, some things were lost, but yet some things were gained. New friendships were formed and forged, and a lot of stigmas and things that were attached to people were dispersed because people began to see that, hey, they're just like us, just different color. We all have the same problems, same issues at home. Teenagers grow up and can't go out or are punished or all of these things. And so that's what we want people to see and know, and for our children to realize that what we share with you is not to make you bitter, but it's to make you better, to make you realize that someone sacrificed, someone worked hard to get these rights or privileges, if you will, that you shouldn't squander or not take advantage of.
There's more things that unite us than there are that separate us.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
And I want to say, and I highly respect you and have always respected you for a number of reasons, but going back to the days of desegregation, and you and I both lived during that time, yes. And I was in Alachua County, and you were right here in Putnam County, but you were almost a pioneer. You were one of the first black students who actually came to CeeLo, or at that time was Palaca South High School.
Yes.
And there's Palaca Central High School.
Right.
But just tell us, generally speaking, I know some other community members, D.R.C. Miller and some others who we know, actually came over, joined Palaca South. How was that time for you? That has to be powerful.
If I can take the topic of a book, it was the worst of times. It was the best of times and the worst of times. In that people were just trying to make heads or tail of what was going on. Mm-hmm. People were feeling angry and bitter that they had been pulled away from their schools, away from their friends, separated, and thrust into another environment that they didn't choose themselves. And some misconceptions, some prejudices, some ideas that we all walked in there with. As time went along, most of those were chiseled away, and people began to see that we're all people. And so, as I try and reflect back on Palaca South, I could see still we segregated ourselves. Mm-hmm. Even though we were at an integrated school, we segregated ourselves. We hung with what was familiar, what felt comfortable for us. But then as members, as blacks began to join the band, of course, they were already in the sports, that, but began to join the band, and the Bravettes, I think is what they call them. Jane Crawford used to be one of those. But they joined the Bravettes, and they would actually, one or two would start talking and become friends and whatever. And so it didn't go as deep for me and others because we only had 2 years, our junior year and our senior year. But the ones that came that had a full 4 years developed more friendships, broke down more walls than we were able to in the short period of time that we were there. The funny thing is we would speak in school, but if we were off, and saw each other somewhere else, we kind of act like we didn't know each other. Those were, that was just a part of growing up and understanding and appreciating what was going on.
And I have a similar frame of reference. I mean, I was in Alachua County, and we desegregated, I think, when I was in 7th grade. And some of my best friends who I played ball with and went to class with who were African American have been and will continue to be some of my best friends. Yeah. But people now, I just want students now to understand how far we have come.
Yes.
Yes, we have a ways to go, but I just want to celebrate the fact that was a very difficult time. And first of all, Putnam County, and I said this in another podcast, was one of the first school districts in the entire state of Florida who voluntarily desegregated. Other districts, like where I went to school, had to be court ordered.
Right.
So kudos to Putnam County, and that just says a lot about the way our population has come together. And I could talk on and on about that.
Yes.
But I think it is really, and I look at when we built the Palaca High School in 1977, and we talked about this before, where Coach Bennett, who was a white coach, Coach Cooper, who was a black coach, came together and helped kind of overcome a lot of that animosity with athletes and the crowd and all that, and really were instrumental in bringing those two groups together. And we, therefore, have named our local football field the Bennett Cooper Stadium in honor of both of them. But it really speaks about our culture here. And I just celebrate that. It's so important. And I talked in another podcast about so many of our community, Mary Lawson Brown and A. Philip Randolph and John L. Williams and Robert H. Jenkins. I mean, we have so many Black Americans who have made this county and made this country what it is today, and I can't be more proud. And what you did over 50 years ago, I don't want to, underestimate the impact that has had. That took a lot of courage, and I appreciate you doing that. And you have served, how many years did you work in the school district as a teacher and administrator?
38. I just won't say half anymore, but 38 years as teacher, administrator combined. And it was my way, or it is my way of giving back. I take a verse out of the Bible in regards to Black History Month and in regards to our students, even in the classroom with their parents, wherever they go. If you want a friend, you have to first present yourself friendly. And so I said that to say this. I have established a friendship that just happened at Palaca High School when I was sent there, reassigned there by former superintendent, Mrs. Jerry Malash.
As an assistant.
As assistant principal, and you were there. And I was angry because I had been sent there after I was told that I could remain at Aquila. Well, anyway, long story short, I was there during the summer, and of course the children hadn't come, and Coach McCool approached me, and I knew who he was, and he only knew who I was on the fact that, yes, she's been assigned there, and he dared to approach me and say to me, well, what do you like doing? And I told him, I said, smart mouth, I said, I'm going to be a Monday night football announcer. That's what I'm going to do. He said, oh, so you like football. You can announce football. Next thing I know, announcing the JV
and
football
you've been
game.
there ever since.
And I'm there even today. But it was because he dared to approach me. Yeah. And those are the kinds of things that we have to remember. If we want a friend, present ourselves friendly. Be approachable so that people are not afraid to approach you. And you'd be surprised at where you could end up.
If you want a friend, you got to be a friend.
You got to be a friend. That's it. And Black history is American history.
Yes, it is.
And it's nothing to be ashamed of. I said it before. When I taught in A5 at Kelly Smith Elementary School, every Black History Month, the students, I had pre-selected names that I wanted them to research. They would draw a name out of the bag, and that was the person they researched. And they had to actually do a presentation to the class, and they had to actually make a float, if you will. We actually called it a float, turned these soda crates upside down, and they actually made a float, and they told about that person. That was a way of helping them to better understand, and even the Black student to better understand, because they didn't know some of the people and the contributions, to better help them with their self-esteem and to know that it's okay to be who you are. It's okay. Be comfortable in the skin you're in.
Well, it's like
I had to learn that.
It's like you say, we stand on the shoulders of those who went before us.
Yes,
and
most definitely.
That's why we live in such a great country. And we have a long ways to go, but we have so much to be thankful for.
Yes.
So changing gears real quick, you have served on the school board and have been chairman, I think, 2 years in a row,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes,
But you've been on the school board for how many terms now?
2 terms. I'm in my second term
Right.
now. You and I went in
Yeah,
together.
we
Yes,
started
sir.
together. So tell me, just generally speaking, about some of the progress of the school district while the time you've been a board member. What are some things that come to mind? I mean, you don't have to get into the details, but what are some things that if you saw somebody outside of our school district, what are some things that you might share about what our school district has done?
One of the things I would share is the fact that out of 67 districts, I think it's 67, we were near the bottom, like 65th or 4th or somewhere like that. And in less than 5 years, we are now noted for having increased our graduation rate. And the effort, I would talk about the fact that we understand, the school board truly understands the portrait of a graduate. We understand the strategic plan and things that are going to happen. Why? Because we're there, a part of it, on committees, working to make sure that we all are headed in the same direction. I mean, anything with 2 heads doesn't do well, doesn't fare well. But we are all just headed in the same direction. We're on course to success, and the right hand does know what the left hand is doing.
Well, and I so much appreciate you. You represent the school board on the expulsion committee.
Yes, sir.
And that's not always a pleasurable thing to do. But going back to what you said, all of our children are sacred and important to us,
Yes,
even
sir.
those who maybe make a mistake or go down the wrong road sometimes. And I just appreciate you. You're always looking to see how can they get better from this?
Yes, sir.
How can they use this to power them forward?
Yes,
so
sir.
thank you for your, the way you approach that. And I've been in some of those meetings before, and they're not very pleasant,
No,
but
sir.
it's something we have to do.
No.
But I appreciate working with you as a superintendent, working with you and our entire school board. And we have such a wonderful school board.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
I know they really have been cohesive, and there's times where have lively debate. I'll put it that way, but we've overcome a lot of barriers, and I just look forward to the future on what we can do to get even better. And by the way, I don't know if you heard, but we're building some schools too. So
Yes. Yes, sir. Thanks to the voters for their vote of confidence in
Absolutely.
passing the bond
Right.
issue. And so we just want to do our best to be good stewards of that they've entrusted us with. Will we get it right every time? We won't. But will we make an effort to correct our mistakes, our faults, or look at it? We'll be the first to admit, hey, I made a mistake. Let's go back and look at it. And that's why I was out walking the other day, and I met a gentleman, a former educator. I won't call his name. And he was concerned about one of the schools. And so we talked about it, and I said, hey, why don't you come into the board to one of our meetings and express yourself, voice your opinion, your concern, because it does matter. Number one, because you are a stakeholder. You have a part in this. And then even if it doesn't go the way I would want it to go, if I were on the other side of the desk, I would appreciate the fact that you took the time to listen. Right. You gave me an opportunity to voice my opinion. And that's what America is about, an opportunity to be heard. And it may not happen today, but somewhere down the road, whatever you suggested just may come up again.
And we over the years, we've really tried to make an effort to do that. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And I have community meetings from time to time at different parts of the community. We have one later this month on the west end. Had one a couple weeks ago on the south end. But again, we're trying to listen to our stakeholders.
Yes.
And we're trying to all come together and do what's right for our kids.
Yes, sir.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
And it may not look pretty at first, but in the end, if we leave this place better than we found it, then we did our job.
Yes, sir.
And
most definitely. And another thing that the district does well. I mean, I know every district has to do the employee of the year and the school-related employee of the year, all of those things. But to take the effort and go to the extent that our human resource department went to, you always walk away feeling good that they do care about the employee. Then with Mrs. Whitehurst recognizing the retirees in front of the board, let me tell you.
You've led that charge, and I appreciate
I
that.
led that charge because of this. I didn't go into teaching to become rich, because if so, I made a huge mistake. It's not about the monies. But when I retired, nobody, absolutely nobody took the time to bring me before the people, not just me, but others that have retired, to bring us up and to say, hey, we appreciate the job that you've done. That's important.
That's powerful.
That's powerful. My cousin was one that Mrs. Whitehurst recognized at our last board meeting. When I stopped by her daycare, she was still grinning from ear to ear, saying how much she appreciated that and how it made her feel.
Well, not only that, Sandy, and once again, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, how important that is. Several years ago, you actually led a charge to recognize our 20-year plus employees.
Yes, sir.
And we went to each site.
Yes, sir.
And that was so powerful.
And COVID kind of brought it to a halt, but down the road, I know we're gonna, reignite it, get it started back up, because it's nothing like feeling appreciated. And if you had seen their faces, not a check was given, but they appreciated it. And that's
awesome.
what it's about. Just saying thank you. I appreciate what you do and what you've done.
And our whole conversation today has been about recognizing those people for their efforts and how they enliven our community. Black History Month is really about that, I think.
Yes, sir.
Celebrating our Black history and the Black citizens of our community and the immense wealth they bring to our community as our school district employees. So with all that said, I just feel so positive hearing you talk, because you're all about service and you're about recognizing and celebrating our community.
And if I could challenge some of the young people, I'm going to do a roll call of some people. I'm not talking about that made a book, that are in the book, the record book, but I'm talking right here in Putnam County. Just call the roll of a Rosa K. Ragsdale, a Fred R. Brooks, a Mr. Wright, D'Arcy's mother, Mrs. Sermon. She just passed not long ago, that actually ran Central Academy High School with whatever they got, Dinah's Cafe, all of these things that people and things that help to make our community cohesive and to bring us together and to help Blacks to feel good about themselves. This was prior to integration, and Mr. Tillman, our truancy officer, that would actually find students and bring us to school. He never had to bring me now, but would bring us to school. And one young man, Mr. Tillman, touched his life. The young man had a problem taking things that wasn't his, and the last thing he took was a bicycle. And I remember Mr. Tillman went out and got him a bicycle. And the joke is, the young man eventually took a car. Mr. Tillman told me, I can't buy you a car, but you see a need and you feel it.
Yep.
And that's what these educators did. Louise Osgood, she called herself Stonewall Jackson, Miss Willingham. They were legends.
Yeah.
And they stood tall.
And they're so humble too.
Yes.
And Terrell Hill was telling me earlier about Lefty Turner, who rubbed shoulders with some of the most outstanding baseball players in Major League history. And he said, and Lefty Turner lived here and rode a bicycle everywhere.
Everywhere.
And just so humble and unassuming, but was so powerful and had an impact on Terrell and many other people. So.
And the thing is, Dr. Sorority, he could have chosen to go and live anywhere else. John L. Williams could have chosen to take his family and live somewhere else. Jarvis Williams, all of these people that have done well in their chosen profession or in their sport, they could have chosen to live somewhere else. But they chose to come back home and to give back to the community quietly. Some things John L. has done for student athletes that come home for Christmas, and he helps them get back to college. This is what it's about. Investing in students one at a time.
There you go.
And prayerfully, they'll come back and take your seat, take my seat, take the seats of all of us.
And, you know, it's so important because we just want our community to be better for our kids, and we have to prepare them and give them what they need to be successful. And then try to stay out of their way after that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sandy, I want to thank you, and you're a dear friend of mine and colleague, and you know, you and I go way back.
Yes, sir.
I can't thank you for all the things you've done to enliven my life. So, and I know this will be a popular podcast for people to see, but you've told us a lot about your organization, Zeta Phi Beta. Thank you again. I appreciate you.
All righty.
Look forward to seeing you the next time.
All right. I appreciate y'all so much, and thank you for doing this. It is a part of American history, but it's Black History Today, and we celebrate together.
There you go.
As a people, as a community.